Today we are going to get to know two of our graduate assistant writing mentors at the center. Today I have with me Allyson and Kyle. So I guess I just ask each of you to briefly introduce yourself, like what do you do at the Writing Center, how did you get at the Writing Center, what are you doing here at Lewis? Allyson, if you wanted to start.
So this is my third year working in the Writing Center, and my second year of being an adjunct instructor for College Writing 2. I used to be a high school teacher for 12 years, and then I got my master's degree, and I was doing writing for a while, like copywriting for marketing for a healthcare IT company. And then I did some freelance writing for a while, and then I realized how much I miss being in education. So I was looking for a job in a writing center, and it just happened to show up when I needed it. So I started working at the Writing Center, and yeah, I've been really enjoying being back in education again.
Nice. Okay, Kyle, your turn.
Yeah, so I initially graduated from Valparaiso University. I graduated with a major in English and minors in Spanish and psychology, and after I graduated, I was looking for something that that fit within the field that I was studying at the time, and so I was looking for something writing related. And kind of while I was looking for jobs, I saw that this Writing Center job here at Lewis came up, and I wanted to be able to help other students with their writing, and I wanted to kind of get back into the process of being in an academic environment. And so when the opportunity came and I was offered the position, I wanted to join. So
Sweet. So we're going to spend some time focusing on Allyson first. The first question I have posed for you is, so as an instructor here at Lewis, what are your thoughts about the Writing Center, and do you encourage your students to visit our center?
I obviously believe the Writing Center has a very useful place at the university, being that I started there and then became an instructor. I also feel that working in the Writing Center prior to taking on a teaching role helped me tailor my curriculum better because of the papers I saw coming in from College Writing 2 students. So I almost feel like I got a sneak peek at some of the issues students end up having with the College Writing 2 assignments. So I almost felt like I had a leg up in my curriculum design. Yes, I do have my students use the Writing Center. For the first semester that I taught, I made it a requirement to come. But then I realized that sometimes that's sort of arbitrary, and students don't necessarily right away value coming to the Writing Center. And then I feel that that might be wasting the time of the mentors that could be working with a student that actually really needs to work with them. So then I started really just recommending certain students to go to the Writing Center. I always recommend to all of my students to go to the Writing Center, especially for kind of more difficult assignments like annotated bibliographies and literature reviews. But I would pretty much, if a student got not the grade that they were wanting to get, I would always encourage them to go to the Writing Center. And if they got a does not meet in a particular assignment, I would require them to go to the Writing Center for help with that. So pretty much all my students that I've sent to the Writing Center, I feel like it's definitely of value to them, and they end up with a better draft than if they had just tried to revise it on their own.
Mm-hmm. You were saying how when you would require students to go, it just wasn't the greatest experience. I guess for the students that did have a better experience, do you think they went in with a different mindset, or what do you think they did that made that experience better for them?
I think that the students that found value going to the Writing Center are the ones that were open to the fact that they needed to go to the Writing Center, or that they should go to the Writing Center. It's the students that don't believe that the Writing Center can help them, or that maybe they think their writing is really, really good on its own and that they don't need any help. Those are the students, in my opinion, who tend to value Writing Center appointments less. But honestly, as a mentor at the Writing Center, I believe that all writers can benefit from going to the Writing Center, whether you believe that you are an excellent writer already or whether you feel insecure about your writing abilities. Both types of students can, or really the entire spectrum of students could benefit from going, because no matter how good of a writer you are, you're always going to find ways to improve. I mean, even professional authors like, say, Stephen King writes about revising. Revision, I think, is where the real work happens, and that's what we do in the Writing Center, is help people with their revisions in general. I mean, obviously students can come in the pre-writing process or any time in the writing process, but I think that the revising process that students go through when they come to the Writing Center is definitely more beneficial than what many students might do on their own.
To jump back to what you said earlier, you were talking about how you were a mentor at the center before you were an instructor here at Lewis, and you were saying how that kind of influenced how you structure your syllabi.
So, for example, one of the major issues I would see with students coming in from College Writing 2 was that they were doing a research paper and they would come in with just basically an opinion piece written, and you'd be reading it with them and you'd say, hey, where did you get this information? What source did you get this information from? And they would say, oh, I haven't done the research yet. I'm going to add that in later. And I would think to myself, you're not supposed to write an opinion piece and then just attach arbitrary research for it. Your paper should grow from the research process. Otherwise it's just confirmation bias. You're not actually researching anything in the true sense of research. Like, you're not exploring the breadth of a topic. You're just jumping, what I always tell my students as I'm teaching them in my classes, I say, okay, so imagine you're a detective and you're sure that the butler did it. It's a homicide. You're sure the butler did it. And you only look for information and evidence that points in the direction of the butler, and you ignore all evidence to the contrary. Is that being a good detective? And they would say no. And I say, well, exactly. So that is not being a good researcher if you just only look for research that confirms what you already think. That is a huge weakness that I see in students, that I was seeing in them when they came into the Writing Center prior to me teaching it. So when I'm teaching it, I make it clear and I structure my class that they have to have their research paper grow out of the research and not vice versa.
A final question for you, Allison, is you were saying how you used to teach high school. What differences do you notice teaching high school versus teaching college students, if you notice any differences at all?
Well, high school students, and I really feel this is true of incoming freshmen, are really taught to write in a very formulaic way in general. And that is okay because that's sort of like their training wheels for writing, academic writing. But once they come to college, they should not to rely on those formulas so much. And when I'm teaching, even College Writing 2, which presumably most people have taken College Writing 1 before they take College Writing 2. So even like I give them a prompt at the beginning of the semester, and I notice that all of their responses are pretty much exactly the same because they're all writing in that formulaic high school way. So that is almost a lesson in and of itself at the beginning of the semester that I talk about, like, all right, let's all look at our papers. Do you see how we're all doing this the same? And I'll take excerpts from different people's papers and put them together, and they look pretty much all the same. I'm like, college level writing shouldn't look like this. And that's why you have this class, because this is you learning how to do college level academic writing rather than high school academic writing. So I would say that's the major difference in the writing specifically is the extreme formulaic way that they're taught to write in high school.
I think what's interesting what you said is that that's like an important thing to learn. Like you said, it was like the training wheels, because I know I've always seen like, man, why do we teach it that way? But I guess like you have to learn how to do it in the first place to be able to branch out beyond that. So wise words from Allison. Okay, so we're going to shift our focus now over to Kyle. I know from my experience, like I rarely get like repeat students or even like students who are working on the same assignment over a period of time. So what's that like for you, seeing the same person and even the same paper over a period of weeks?
Yeah, I think it's unique for myself because I am afforded the ability to be able to work at the Writing Center for about 19 hours a week. So that gives me the opportunity to have more time open to work with other mentors or to work with other students. And when I'm given that opportunity, that allows me to open up that door to continue to reach out or continue to work with some of these students who I'm noticing maybe are struggling on their papers, or if they're not struggling, there's just like a lot that they need to focus on. And so with that in mind, it's certainly a process to kind of have to engage with that and to kind of try and figure out what works best for a student. And ultimately that is not something you can accomplish just in one session. So I think the benefit of having multiple sessions is just that we're able to develop a rapport and of jump straight into it rather than kind of having to maybe work on an appointment and then like a month later work on another one. Having something that's more regular allows for us to be more comfortable kind of having that back and forth and determining what's working best for the both of us.
Wise words from Kyle too. Wise words from the both of you. So a final question for Kyle. So you said earlier you work 19 hours a week at the Writing Center. So for those of you who are paying attention at home, who are doing the math, that is not 40 hours a week, which is full time. So do you do other work outside of Lewis and the Writing Center to like get to 40 hours, or do you have like another part-time job?
No, I also work at a library that's close to where I'm currently living at the moment. And so working at the library has kind of been something else I've been interested in. Having that experience working at a library has also been, I think, beneficial to me for working at the Writing Center, because it gives me a sense of kind of how to balance not just working with students in a level that is kind of almost a script to how we interact with students when we're mentoring them. There's that process of introducing them, kind of us identifying what is it that we need to kind of work with for that session, kind of doing the session, and then wrapping things up. So at a certain point, it becomes a routine to kind of figure out, like, okay, so both of us are here with academic goals in mind, and now we are kind of going through that process, going through those motions. Whereas at the library, there's a lot of people who maybe don't have those same kind of habits or routines in place. I work with a lot of older patrons at that library who have very simple things like maybe just needing to figure out how to, print something on a computer or something like that. And so my approach to mentoring them or trying to help them kind of figure out how to use technology is completely different to how I approach working with students here. But I'm able to use some of those practices from here, there, and now I've been able to take some of those experiences I've had at the library and kind of apply that back into the Writing Center as well. So it's been exciting for me.
Mm-hmm. And what stands out to me about that is here you're primarily working with like academic writing, whereas like at the library, I imagine it's a whole wide range of people from like, 20-year-olds to 80-year-olds. Like that's a huge diverse population, way more than we have here at Lewis. So that's another, I think, component that you bring, that you help foster at the Writing Center here. We appreciate that. So while we wrap up, we have one last final fun question, as is tradition now. So our fun question for today is, what book, movie, TV show, video game, any sort of fictional universe would you like to be a part of? Kyle, you look like you have something to say.
No, I was laughing because I still don't have an answer for this.
Okay.
But I suppose outside of the session, you did mention SpongeBob, and I do have quite the affiliation with SpongeBob.
Affiliation?
So, I suppose if I could breathe underwater, I would want to be in the SpongeBob universe. It seems like it's pretty low stakes there. It seems like it's a good time. Sounds like they have some good food. So I might choose SpongeBob, and then I get to live underwater, and that would be pretty cool.
Well, you could just get the hat like Sandy, the diving suit with the globe head thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that's called.
Yeah, I could try a fishbowl. Try putting on a fishbowl over my head, or maybe it's a spacesuit. But
I think it looks like a spacesuit.
Yeah.
But also like a diving suit, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows, yeah.
I want to be an underwater astronaut. I think that's what it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is cool.
I've never thought of it like that before. Scuba divers are underwater astronauts. Okay, Allyson, what's your answer?
Well, unlike Kyle, I've known this for a while because I think weird thoughts like this all the time. But I would definitely want to be in the universe of Wes Anderson movies. I love Wes Anderson. I love his movies. I love the aesthetic and the colors and the quirkiness. So yeah, that is where I would go, is definitely Wes Anderson movies. Most likely either Moonrise Kingdom or The Royal Tenenbaums are my two favorite Wes Anderson movies.
I'm trying to think for myself, and I don't have an answer to that. I didn't even begin thinking about it, so I'll probably just add this in post, my answer. Because most of the stuff I watch is or play is scary stuff. So the second part of the question is, which would you definitely not want to be a part of? And that would be for me, right now I'm playing Days Gone, and it's a zombie apocalypse game. Who wants that? Right. And most of the games I play are kind of apocalyptic, and that's apocalyptic. And I'm that's lame. I don't want to live there. So that's my answer to the second one. I'll add the other one in post. I've had a day to think about this now, and I'm still not sure what my answer would be. Maybe Skyrim, the video game, if I could be in that universe, but only if I could be the main character, because I don't want to be a farmer who's in the middle of a battle. Their farm is destroyed by a giant or war or anything or a dragon. So if I could be the main character, I'd choose Skyrim. Allison, you want to start this time?
Sure, although my answer is similar to yours, and I think I would firmly not want to be in the Walking Dead universe because that would just be no good. And I used to watch that show. I haven't watched probably the last 3 or 4 seasons of it, but I just feel like you're getting kicked in the stomach with every single episode. Like something bad happens, it's just bleak. There's not very much happiness. And this is a person, I love horror movies, but I don't want to live in a horror movie. I don't even like going to those haunted houses. It freaks me out. I do not go to those things. I can watch it from afar. Being in it, not so much. So yes, definitely The Walking Dead is the no-go universe for me.
Good choice. How about Kyle?
Yeah, I think to stick with the Halloween theme, even if this winds up getting released after October, I would probably have to say maybe something like The Thing. I think that would be a pretty unfortunate situation to be in, just given the fact that I wouldn't want to be replaced by like a version of me that could immediately turn into like this giant grotesque gore monster. That would be a little spooky. So I'd much prefer to be living underwater and hanging with my sponge friend rather than becoming a giant sack of meat,
So you would be Patrick in the SpongeBob world, or you would just be friends with SpongeBob?
I would be friends with Patrick.
Like you'd still be Kyle?
I'd still be Kyle, exactly, yeah.
Introducing a new character, Kyle.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Need to like oceanify your name. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed are the speaker's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Lewis University. The material and information presented here is for general information purposes only. The Lewis University name and all forms and abbreviations are the property of its owner, and its use does not imply endorsement of or opposition to any specific organization, product, or service. This podcast was produced in the WLRA podcast studios at Lewis University. Visit lewisu.edu for more information about Lewis University.